This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning, Bahamas. You're tuned into Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. It's 10 a.m. That means you're on the clock with Erin Greene. Now, there are a number of ways you could tune into the show. You can stream us live, our audio and video, on GuardianTalkRadio.com. You can listen on TV on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 or Flow Channel 612. Or you can download the Guardian Radio app for your Apple or Android smart devices and listen to our audio feed or watch us on our video feed right there on the Guardian Radio app. You can text us on the Guardian Radio text line, 422-4796. That's 422-GR96. And it's powered by BTC, standard text rate supply. You can call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, or 326-4259. Now, it's Friday. That must mean it's a Culture Friday. And I've got two of the country's best chefs in studio with me today to talk about the culture of food, of culinary culture, of gastronomical culture. And my favorite, the culture of fruits and sweet things. I think it's going to be a great show today. So, I'm going to give you those call-in numbers again, 323-6232, 325-4316, or 326-4259. While I have these guys in studio, I'm going to ask them some things about food, because I need to straighten up on some of my cooking skills, right? I had to admit to somebody this morning that I am not a peas and rice cooker. And I know that I cannot find a man to marry me unless I could prove to him that I could cook a solid pot of peas and rice. I mean, that's the criteria, right, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Peas and rice is the foundation, I guess, of Bahamian cuisine, you know.
Yeah.
If you come to the Bahamas, you got to have peas and rice.
And like if I want to raise an army, a children, I need to be able to cook a big pot of peas and rice and then figure out what I can put in that pot to satisfy their bellies, right? Without making them think it's a whole meal.
Now, peas and rice in New Providence is different from peas and rice in Kidd Island or Exuma.
Did anybody
As
give
simple as that dish is.
people the permission to do that?
First of all, peas and rice in Kidd Island, if it's done right, you're going to collect the rainwater. You're going to put a sheet over a tin and collect the rainwater. Let it come through the sheet. You're going to pick fresh peas. You're going to put salt beef, tomato paste, no kitchen bouquet, all of the ingredients that you grow in the farm, and you're going to utilize that.
The herbs, right? So the first time somebody sent me to the store for herbs, right? I looked at them with my good QC education and said, so what do you need? Do you need oregano? Do you need dill? Right? Do you need celery? And they say celery, right? And then I say, what else you need? They say tomato. I say, but how is tomato a herb? They say onion, because they wasn't paying me no mind, you know. Then they say onion. And then I stop. And I said, you have confused me. I apologize. I'm from QC. And then they laugh at me. Why do we call these things herbs?
I think that's a part of our food culture. That's how we speak.
Right.
Also, we call steam stew.
Yeah.
Which is really stew. We call it steam.
Yeah.
You know, like when you do steam group, that's really, you're really stewing that. So,
yeah. So when the woman say you have to confuse the enemy, that's what y'all doing. You protecting the recipes by not being clear about the ingredients. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I could be honest with you.
No.
Because if you're really interested in the thing, then you're going to do the required introspection.
Peas and rice I equate as paella in Spanish. Because,
Okay.
well, a peas and rice pot are actually supposed to be a one meal dish with everything in it.
Right.
Salt, beef, count, this, that, and the next. But since we brought it to fancy it up to give it to the tourists,
Our guests from other
we
countries.
took out all of
yeah.
these stuff and just give them the peas and the rice. But it's supposed to be a one pot meal like a paella.
Okay, pause. Let me introduce you. So in studio joining me today, you heard the first voice, Chef Wayne Munker, joining us from last Friday's conversation. And the second voice is a new chef that I got somebody new to Teeth Ideas from, Chef Alpheus Ramsey Jr. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bob.
Good
Now,
morning.
I had to introduce you like that because you stunned me just now, right? I, as a vegetarian, I call the peas and rice a one meal pot because I want to put enough peas in there to be my protein. And so imagine my surprise. It turns out that that's what it used to be, and it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you wanna, if you're getting the real peas and rice, you're gonna do it in the, those pots in the outside kitchen.
Yeah.
The pot that you don't really clean. A lady, I went to clean one of those pots before on the island. The lady told me, say, you can't clean those pots because they can catch the cold. So all the flavor is built up in that from your Grammy, from her mother, inside that pot. So you don't mess with that pot outside.
Okay, so when the old folks say you can't make this, they being real because you don't have the equipment. Like you don't have the pot that has the time and the experience
The history.
etched into it.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Even those cast iron frying pans, because when I was growing up, my mother used to take a cast iron frying pan. She never used to wash that. That used to go in the oven with the oil in it.
Yeah.
When you had to clean that, all you used to do is pour the oil out and pour new oil in it, or wipe it out with
Wipe
a
it
cloth.
out.
Wipe it
That's
out.
With the
it.
cloth.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
Yeah.
Now, dear Bahamas, please call in and ask these guys some important questions, right? Because let me tell you, we have a national security incident or a risk happening right now. We are at risk of losing the traditional food cooking techniques, right? And we don't understand why we are unable to replicate these same flavors. Now, I'm a stickler for fried fish, right? And I was fortunate enough to have someone in my family circle who I would put money on as one of the best fish fryers in the country. And God rest her soul, rest in peace, Marina Sands Young, right? A beautiful woman, raised me up. And she took with her so many cooking techniques, And one of the things she shared with me is how you make baked fish, baked grouper taste proper, right? And when she said it, it struck me like it was sitting right there, and I'd never thought about it. But I could never make my baked fish taste the same as hers. And as soon as she gave me that little tip, it was perfect.
So what's the tip?
Boy, look here, these boy them love your Bahamian people. So let me tell you what the tip is. The tip is that you start baking the fish first without the tomato. And you collect some of the liquid that's released
That's
from
the
the
au jus.
fish. The au jus. Look at these fancy
natural,
people.
Natural juice.
Natural juices. And you collect that, and then when you are ready to put your tomato mixture on the fish, you pause and you put the fish au jus in the tomato mixture, and you let that cook down a little longer, and you add the flavor of the fish to the tomato.
That makes sense.
And that was the thing. Now, I'm not saying I could even touch Marina Sands, the hem of her cast iron pot.
Right.
But it improved my baked fish tremendously. And then I realized that we are really at risk of losing the techniques.
Absolutely.
right?
Like you want to, like for instance, that fish. You want to use fish with bone in it so you can get that gelatin and the flavor.
Right.
If you use
Right.
fillets, it's not going to be the same thing.
Right.
So you have to use the head, you have to use the body, so you can get all of that flavor from the bone.
Now, Alpheus, you are a experienced chef, and you've spent a significant portion of your career working in the hotel industry, right? So I know in the hotel industry, we catering to tourists, and we catering to people who are not familiar or don't traditionally eat fish with bone in it, right? And we got a lot of little Bahamian children who could look up in an adult's face and say, "Oh, do you have fish without bone in it?"
Yep.
When I was a child, you were lucky if you got fish at a Sunday meal, right? And now children are expressing their right as Bahamians to eat fish with no bone in it. Is there a way that we could cook this fillet to cater to our tourist market, but still deeply impart the bone-in flavor to the vibe? Because if you're not eating bone-in fish, you're not experiencing the best parts of the Bahamas.
Right.
Short story. When I was working in Bimini Road, we had fried fish and stuff like that, but we had the fillet. So one day I said, you know something? Let me just do a special. And I can do a bone-in fried fish. I ordered, because I didn't want to do too much. I ordered like 100 snappers. And by the time the fisherman got on top of the hill, on top of the bridge, I had to call him back and tell me bring back 100 more, because those 100 fried fish was already gone. There's a market for it, but I don't think the hotels feel the need to bring out the native Bahamian culture on their plates. Yeah. I don't know why. But I believe if we do it and do it correctly, it would make a big difference in the hotel sector.
Right. I think one of the ways we do it is we sell culinary tourism, right, to the hotels and to the Ministry of Tourism as a real product, right? We looked at religious tourism as a real product. We looked at sports tourism as a real product, to the point where we invested or partnered with other countries to start building the facilities to do it. Do we have sufficient trained chefs to warrant a quota in the tourism sector for local chefs? A, and B, would that be a good way? See, for me, let the tourists at the hotels do what they want. I'm about food retention and food culture retention. Would ensuring that every hotel has a team of local chefs directing the menu creation?
See, that's that last part. That's the issue there, because when you have these creations of Bahamian concepts in the hotels and resorts around, you don't have Bahamian chefs driving the bus, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Bahamian chefs need to be driving it and doing it the organic Bahamian way. If I go to Japan and I ask for sushi, I can't tell a guy put the sushi on the flat top and cook it a little bit for me.
And let me say,
he can be offended.
And you can't tell him put piece of plantain in the sushi for more.
No.
Yeah.
So we have to be proud of our culinary heritage and do it the way Grandma used to do it. Every chef, he's doing it. He's trying to create and trying to give that guest a taste of his childhood, the way things were done when he was a child. Every chef is trying to do that.
Yeah. Just coming on the show today, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about my childhood. And I lived on Carmichael Road for years. When you say Carmichael Road back in the day, after you pass Dawkins gas station, there was nothing else.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
Nothing. But everybody had a backyard farm inside there. And I remember getting eggs from off a farm that were now what they call organic.
Mm-hmm. But we can talk about organic.
Yeah, and drinking tea, pear leaf tea, because we ain't had no Lipton tea bag. Yeah. All these authentic flavors and tastes. My mother used to bake bread and make guava jam, and these are the things I grew up off. When you was talking about switcher, I remember going in the back of the yard and getting the baked, what we call them, baked sour.
Yeah, sour orange.
Right, sour orangeade, and making lemonade. I used to drink that all summer.
In fact, I remember my housekeeper realized that we had access to a whole bunch of fruit where I live, and one day she stopped us and she's like, hold on, where y'all going with all these guava? So we say, we're going to go eat guava and maybe make some guava. Look here, she took all our guavas from us and then proceeded to make batches of guava jam, some of which she took home so she could sell and use, and some of which we had to give out to neighbors and things. And, she made us realize that this ain't just your sustenance for the summer. Mm-hmm. This thing have value.
Yep. My grandfather, actually, he was a watermelon farmer. All the excessive watermelon that he had before they rotten, he would make watermelon jam and jar them. And that's why I created, when I did the Sun and Ice thing, I did a watermelon jam and cheesecake ice cream, which was, a play off of what he used to do.
Yeah.
So we could incorporate all these old-time Bahamian heritage and recipes in today's,
in today's culinary scene. Look
So-
here, let me read through these texts, and then let's talk about some of those old time things we could bring back. So, first text is, Erin, this is your old math teacher. Took a long time to learn, years really, to make peas and rice, but I beat you to it. Well, look here, I gonna give you that, because I sure when I was in your math class, I pretended like I was the smartest thing going, right? But I'm glad you learned to do that. For me, one of my bucket list things is I have to get these recipes, not just documented, but I got to get them under my fingertips so I could brag to the young people about how I know how to cook these things and y'all don't know nothing. Next text, good morning. Tell your guests steam and stew is not the same thing. Now, I don't think that's what Chef Munko was saying. I think what Chef Munko is saying is that what we call steam, other people call stew.
In the culinary world,
Yeah.
if you look in the culinary, I was trained in Johnson and Wales University in the Bahamas Hotel Training College. The true culinary definition of stew is what we call steam. Is what we call stew is steam. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Another text, Erin, it's good these chefs are on. Two-part question for the chef. Does it make any logic and sense for a culinary student to take on a major chef position after culinary school? And should a chef take on a major position as an executive chef if they're not ready? Or, should they focus some advice to young chefs about career options and placements, right? I think that's what they're asking for. What would be your advice to new chefs that are considering taking on major positions just coming out of school, right? And I guess they're asking, should you be bold and go for it, or should you really take time because culinary school may not necessarily give you everything you need?
Let me just say that it all depends on what they did before culinary school. Because one like me and Chef Wayne, we had an apprentice course, which took us through every major kitchen in what was Resorts International, which is Atlantis now. Before, at the age of 16, I was in those kitchens, going through. And by the time I hit culinary school, which was Johnson and Wales, I was about 20, 21, 22. So afterward, I think I could have taken an executive sous chef job at any place. So it's all what you do before entering like the thing. But if you just came out of high school and went straight into culinary school, I would say get some experience underneath your belt before you take on a huge position like a executive chef.
Man, look here, just a pause.
Yeah.
So I jumped right into the show this morning because I wanted to talk politics, right? And I was going to talk about the Senate and the people in the Senate and how we bastardize the Senate. Because, in a similar way, we have been bastardizing traditional Bahamian recipes, right? And I just wanted to remind these guys that the Senate is a place for elder statesmen, not for neophytes, not for newbies, right? Now, you don't have to be a politician to be in the Senate, but it depends on the experience that you would have garnered, right, before you get to that spot. And so, dear politicians, I didn't want y'all to think that I was ignoring y'all this morning. I didn't want y'all to get jealous because I got these other men in my studio talking about food.
To build off of what Alpheus said, you want to have a foundation, a strong foundation before you venture into executive chef, because there's so much facets of an executive chef. You have to manage human resources. You have to know food costs. You have to know how to create menus, seasonal menus. You have to know a lot of different facets. So,
Absolutely.
It depends on where you are too. If you're in a hotel, you have to know how to negotiate with unions. It's a lot of different things.
And what are you saying? In some of these things, you have to do this on like a blink and an eye. They come to you and say, "I need a seasonal menu for the year." You have to, and they want it in an hour or in a half an hour, and you have to be able to send that. So if you are not seasoning menu creation, you could get lost easy.
All right, so I wanted to ask this question about culinary schools, right? Like I know we had Chimmy, which is a culinary institute connected to UE and COB, but I'm not sure if that's in operation anymore, right? So this is it is? So this is a sort of a two-part story, right? Shouldn't the Bahamas then be hosting or managing and operating a culinary school? Like, haven't we reached that point yet? And then shouldn't we, with our intersection with tourism, shouldn't we specialize in gastronomy and culinary arts in the tourism sector? Like, is that a viable projection or aim for the Bahamas scene?
I think right now, I personally feel that we are leading the way in culinary in the region. For instance, we were the only country to send a team twice to the Olympics, Culinary Olympics, which is the highest pinnacle you can go to as a chef.
Yeah.
2004 and 2008 never have been done. That was history. So we always lead the way. And my colleagues, they would tell you when we went to a university, we always excel in university as students. We are always on top. So Bahamas is leading in the culinary field. We just need the I think you need more backing and exposure.
I think that education-wise, that we should have already been to that point where we have a hospitality school. When I mean a hospitality school, all facets, front of the house, back of the house, plumbers, engineering, whatever, where they could just go to the school and they run a hotel.
Right. And look, and so in the question here, right, looking at the intersection with the tourism industry, I thought about we have so many different islands and so many different types of scenery, and then you just raised it for me, and so many different types of hotels, right, that we would be a perfect place to build a model, right, for sustainable tourism education.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I went to BHTC, and that was from the CC Sweden campus, during that time, we had people that came from all over the world, England,
Okay,
all over the Caribbean.
Tell me the name of the program. Would you call it B?
It was
It was the Bahamas Hotel Training College, which was in the back of CC Suite.
I got you.
Yes.
And we were in the
Apprenticeship
Okay,
program.
cool,
Yeah.
Apprenticeship
cool.
program.
All right.
Which was a 3-year program. It was very thorough.
So we're not talking about building we're not talking about building new things. We're talking about revitalizing
Right.
programs that have already existed in the country.
And which were already successful.
Right.
I could say.
And perhaps providing an environment where they could reorganize and restructure themselves to be more accessible to young people and people who are aspiring chefs.
Absolutely.
All right, so look here. I got a caller on the line. Let's go to that caller dead quick. Caller, you're on the clock.
Hey, good morning, Erin.
Good morning.
Good morning, chefs.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
I remember Chef Monroe. I think it's Chef Monroe
Munka.
Munker from Resorts International.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in commissary with Tony Thompson, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Yes, sir.
you used to work with Chef Shea.
Yes, sir. I was his apprentice.
Right. So my question is, where did the culture of coconut milk come in with the peas and rice? When did that come in? And could you qualify that?
Well, I know in Andres, they infuse a lot of coconut in their cooking because, Andres is filled with coconut trees. I know they put it in their boiled fish and they do different things with the coconut. So I would think that's where it started in Andres.
Oh, okay.
But they do the real coconut milk, not that store-bought stuff, the real one which you wring out in the cloth,
Right.
Yeah.
So the coconut milk doesn't take away from the peas and rice.
It would add to because that's the natural stuff.
Right.
I think it would add to. It's all in ratio. It's how much of a certain ingredient you put in the peas and rice. If you put too much coconut milk, obviously it would predominate the flavor. But I think it's all in ratio.
And it will compromise the storage capacity.
You mean the
shelf life.
Shelf life?
Shelf life, yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, because people eat that rice tastes good, sir. There ain't none of that getting left behind. I done had some of that.
I believe that.
what I think compromises the rice. I know people now in New Providence, they put sweet pepper in the rice. Sweet pepper tend to make things go spoil quicker, you know. Yeah, that kind of thing. But
Dear Nassau people, catch a tip right now.
watch out for Nassau and Sparky McCall, say New Providence.
No. I talking about Nassau people. Y'all people in Carmichael and South Beach. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Listen, caller, I got another caller on the line.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us. Caller, you're on the clock.
Yes, good morning, Erin.
Good morning. How you do?
Good morning to your guests. You know, I got to big you up. This is a great show. You know,
Good morning.
you all got my mouth running water, right?
Yes, sir.
Think about the theater who used to come from on this in the 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bring in the cocoa plum and the coconut tart and the penny cake and all these different things. You know, I listen to you guys, right? And I so much enjoying this. You know, my grandma used to do the rice with the. I surprised people never taste rice with coconut milk in it. I just can't believe that. I know she used to do the Johnny cake. Sometimes she would put the raisin, right? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes she'd put the coconut in with the Johnny cake.
Oh, boy.
So I know about all these high-grade foods.
Mm-hmm.
And she would take she would cook the rice, and sometimes she would granulate the conch. She had a conch grinder. She would granulate the conch and put the conch in the rice. Mm-hmm. Sometimes she would put sweet pepper. I mean, you know, and see, me and my brother, and I wanted to verify that what you're talking about, the frying pan, but not cleaning the frying pan and just wiping the oil out of it and keeping it. Me and my brother had that argument because he liked to put the chemicals, like the dishwashing things, like over and over in the frying pan. He didn't understand the concept of how to preserve the skillet. But I have a question for the chef, them, since they got my mouth watering, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite dishes is really, you know, I like the stuffed crab, and I actually go crazy over the stuffed crabs. But I wanted him to explain to me. I tried the micro cooking, right? And I don't want to use oil. And so I was always trying to figure out which is the best vegetables to micro cook, like my fish with, because I'm trying to avoid using the oil, even though I use olive and coconut oil. I'll just hang up and listen, Erin.
I got you.
All right, tell him explain it, please.
So what he's saying is there's a whole bunch of us who love this fish, but we got to be healthier. How are we going to replicate these fish flavors with a severe reduction of oil in our pot? Or what technique can we use?
Well, what I like to use, because I like to try to cook a little healthier, I use shallow frying. And with shallow frying, it's like a saute. Just using like a teaspoon of he says coconut oil or olive oil in the pot, and just start off my fish like that, and then I incorporate the flavor slowly into it. So, you know, when the oil will actually dissipate when he eat it. It wouldn't even be a factor.
I got
in
you.
it. Yeah.
All right.
Or he can use the palm spray. They have the olive oil in the palm spray. Just hit the pan with the palm spray, sear off the fish, and then finish it in the oven.
Should I coat my fish with the palm spray as well? Maybe.
No, you don't have to.
You don't have to. And let me just say this: if we have one of those old cast iron pan that's been in the oven like 10 years, he wouldn't even need no oil.
There you go.
He wouldn't even need the oil because that seasoned to the tea, that wouldn't stick, that wouldn't do nothing.
All right. I got one more caller on the clock, and then we're going to go to these texts. Caller, you're alive.
Hey, Erin, Greene.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to your two chefs.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, you know, Erin and gentlemen, I grew up on the old-fashioned Bahamian food and Grammy food and Granada and everybody food. We never cooked, well, I guess he's a chef, he got to be fancy about it. But I like to see an old Bahamian restaurant food where we cook the old-fashioned way. I like my old-fashioned rice with the old-fashioned cooking. I don't know if you Grammy, I would tell them how to. I watch my Grammy cook. And if I would have owned a restaurant, it would be the old-fashioned. The old-fashioned crab and rice and what have you. So we need to document that because that's really our culture here, the old-fashioned way of cooking. The doughboy, I tasted doughboy the other day. Oh, but pepper and doughboy. Y'all know I call it doughboy, right, gentlemen? You know I call it doughboy?
That's the crab and dough, right?
No, see, y'all don't know. Doughboy, well, there's one called crab and dough, but doughboy, that's a pigeon pea, dumpling, and salt beef.
Oh, yeah, that's the original way. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You see, that's why we need to document.
That's
and
right.
I see why Sparky's called sometimes, because sometimes you need to educate.
See,
take note.
Yes,
take
but look
note
here.
Because it's important for our university that we take note. Culturally, Erin Greene, you all talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
And we take note. That's the old doughboy. Like I said, I tasted doughboy the other day. No one's put pepper in doughboy.
But I don't understand why y'all can't make a vegetarian doughboy. It's just
That's possible.
why y'all don't love us vegetarians enough, man. It's making me cry.
But Erin, you could bring that out. You could bring your own vegetarian book. But
Listen,
you can't-
don't.
I'm not a. Even if I was, I can't be a vegetarian because I love eating food too much. I got to have it the natural Grammy way.
I got you.
I with you.
I with you too. I don't see how James can be a vegetarian myself. Cause, the pork and them juices and stuff will come from that
Listen,
meat. They can't season the pork with no vegetable.
I close that. I take a guava duff. The gentleman from Canada said he baked me a guava duff.
Yeah.
And you know what type of guava duff he baked me?
Guava paste stuff.
He didn't bake me. You know the old guava. Me closer there. You all know how to bake the old-fashioned guava duff?
In
You
the pillar
steam it in the
case.
pillar case. Make sure the pillar case
now
clean.
you cook. Now,
Yeah.
Erin Greene need to send me your number. You old-fashioned.
I can make sure you
And I
get.
gotta have one or
I
two
mean,
seed
you
knit
gotta put a
pumpkin
old-fashioned
eater.
restaurant together, man.
Yeah, man.
Get in contact with me. I
Thank
want
you.
to teach me even how to cook the old-fashioned way and our university.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you, Pumpkin Eater. So listen, I have a friend who makes vegan doughboy. Yeah. I know it sounds like, look here, if y'all see how these man staring at me in the studio, like I ain't even allowed to say that. And I got a Jamaican neighbor that makes vegan red pea stew.
Okay.
Right? With the spindle dumplings. Right? And so I have been able to satisfy my soul a little bit. But y'all ain't helping us. Y'all ain't helping us. So look here, let me get to these texts. Good day. The reason for no bone in fish in hotels is a fear the guests may get the bone stuck in their throat. Is there a way to soften the bone like in sardines? There probably is, but I don't even know if I want them men to say that on air.
No, you still could present it in a way where, as I see some people debone the fish, take the fillet off, fry it, but still fry the bone as well.
In the oil to make the flavor.
And then put the fillets back on the bone.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
it'll have that presentation.
And when you see
still
Chef
have
Munker,
the-
give him $5 because that is a beautiful tip for amateur chefs and people who want to try to do that thing at home. Another text. Good morning, Erin. Congratulations to Chef Alfie and Chef Munker. BHTC is so proud. That's the program you mentioned. Chef Adame Farrington led the way. Chefs had like Von Ross, Chef Ellie Saunders,
Yes.
the short English guy were the best. To Chef Wayne, Cat Island Strong, and Youth Campfire, never done.
Absolutely, Adame Farrington.
Boy,
That's
you can't
the foundation of
boy.
BHTC. I mean, she
Right
took
there.
us away. We got the exposure. She made sure that we learned the foundational sources and stocks and all that kind of thing. She really pushed the Bahamian culture in terms of culinary wise.
Yeah.
A lot of chefs, they indebted to her.
And so mentoring and a personal mentoring and relationship with generations of chefs is necessary for young chefs to really understand the space that they're in.
Absolutely. Persons like Charles Smith,
Yeah.
Ellie Sanders, Chef Van Rotz, he came from Switzerland.
Okay.
You even have the older chefs like Chef Michael Adley. You
Michael
have
Adley,
Chef just mentioned Chef Shea.
Yeah.
All of these people, they mentored. When we looked up to them, like, boy, you all do it, we could get there as
Edwin
well.
Johnson.
Edwin Johnson, all
Yeah.
of them.
All right. So, as a civil society now, we on our side need to figure out how to create or facilitate the creation of structures that allow for this type of mentorship, right? We could use the culinary world as a model, and we could grow that model in other industrial spaces as well. This is fantastic, but I got a ton more text here. This text says, flour goes in stew, no flour goes in steam. And this one says, no, one is with flour and the other is without flour. Now, so let's get to this little food thing here. Somebody made stew fish, and they didn't put any flour in it. And it was one of the best parts of stew fish I ever had. Now, maybe they put a tiny little bit of flour in it, right? But not enough for me to taste that there was flour in it. And when I asked them, what type of Chickchani magic is this in front of me? Their response was, I use okra in my
That's
pot.
a thickening agent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Right? And then I had a customer say to me, I use eggplant as a thickener in my stews and steams.
It's also a thickening agent.
Now, is that a traditional Bahamian thing? I imagine the okra may be traditional, but what about the eggplant?
No, not the eggplant. Definitely the okra.
Yeah.
But I know back in the day, during the hurricane time, I don't know if persons know about this. In Kid Island, they would dry the fish.
Yeah.
So they'll have the dry fish, and during the hurricane, they'll rehydrate it and cook it down with okra. So you don't need a fridge for that. And so that was the thickening agent for the little steam, what we call steam.
All right.
The steam fish. So.
Okay, wow. Because I have to admonish a number of restaurants whose names I won't call because that ain't fair, right? But what I found is the people out here saying they selling stew fish and it looked brown like it ain't even never met a tomato, right? It looked brown like somebody hurt its feelings, right? And I feel like they put in and then sometimes you could taste the burnt flour in it. Is there too much flour or is flour a necessity for it to be Bahamian stew?
What I normally do, so I wouldn't burn my flour, I normally bake my flour. In a
Okay.
cast iron or in a thing. It gives you time to really, because on a fire, you can actually turn your back and when you come back, it burns. So I bake it and I stir it, bake it and I stir it.
All right.
So when I use it, it's perfect.
But those extra brown stews, people are cheating. They use the kitchen bouquet.
Kitchen bouquet.
But the original Bahamian way is you brown your flour first. But
Right.
some people, they would fry it on the so-called herbs first and then add the flour. But you brown the flour first. That's the original way.
The watery one was steam and the thicker one stew. Steam more reddish and stew more brownish. Send pumpkin eater my number also, please. I got you, texter. So the text today and the calls should really let us know, and the powers that be, the people with money to invest in businesses, we now understand that Bahamians can grow the things we need to sustain traditional dishes. Bahamians can cook the traditional dishes, and Bahamians want to eat the traditional dishes and think they should be preserved. What is the thing that's missing here? What are the barriers to more Bahamian restaurants in country? Now, that's not necessarily a question for you guys to answer right now. That's what came to me. I got another text here. My aunt used to make jam from the sea grape. Explain to me the best. Oh, okay, that's our friend there. So, you know what else we do with the sea grape? What my small company does? We make sea grape concentrate and then we make sea grape pancake syrup.
Nice.
We make a sea grape syrup to add to our savory lemonades. So, like, I make a thyme lemonade, and on demand, I could pour a little sea grape syrup in it.
Because it's a tart, it adds the tart element to it,
Yeah.
which is very good with sweet. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very good.
I got another caller on the line, guys. Caller, well, good morning.
Good morning. Is this the Erin Greene show?
It is.
Can I speak with her, please?
You are speaking to Miss Greene, ma'am.
Good morning, Miss Greene. How are you this morning?
I'm good unless you're going to admonish me for sharing the top secret food recipes.
Yes, ma'am. I am trying to see if I can I don't want to change anybody's business and how it works, but I am an elderly person, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm from Cat Island, too. So whoever you have right there from Cat Island,
Yes, ma'am.
stew is different from steam. Stew is where you cook brown your flour nicely. Some people brown it in oil or fat, whatever, grease. Some persons just brown it in the hot pot. They keep turning it until it comes to the texture, the brown texture that they desire. All right?
Okay.
And then they take it out and work from there with their putting in then their various oils and other herbs, so forth and so on, and whatever else they're cooking, be it fish, conch, or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Steam in Bahamas is different. The old-fashioned, I'm talking about old-fashioned now.
Yes, ma'am.
It's different from the new steam that you all are talking about, right? Steam is your shallot or onions and your tomato or tomato paste, so forth and so on. in a short gravy that you would then put your fish or conch, whatever, in. That's the old-fashioned one.
Okay.
The new ones now, what you all are talking about, is new, all right? So altogether, we can be looking at two different steams and two different stews. Thank you so very much. You all have a beautiful and blessed day.
Thank you very much.
What we're looking at is the culinary definitions, but I
Yeah.
understand.
And thank you, because I've been encouraging the old folk to share their secret with
yes,
us.
so
Yeah, so-
we encourage that.
We encourage the secrets to come out. So
Yes, ma'am.
caller, thanks very much.
Thank you very, very much. So look here, I ended last week's show with the story of time. And I want to apologize to the audience because I speed that story, right? And I was talking about how time is a superfood, right? Time dilates blood vessels. So it's a treatment, or we have used it traditionally as a treatment for hypertension, high blood pressure, swelling of the joints, gout, overheating, and dehydration. We also use it to induce labor, right, when at the appropriate time. And it is an upper respiratory conditioner. So all the people talking about they have sinus, right? They make that noise with the air. These are, right? Time is for upper respiratory conditioning, so the tip of your head to your throat. It is a superfood. So I was in boarding school in England for a couple of years doing my A-levels. And one year I couldn't come home, right? I mean, money, and I was a little used to the place, but I couldn't come home for the whole year. The school sent me on the Easter break to live with an African family. And I was a little apprehensive, not because they're Africans, but just because it wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to be home. And the first night there, this family made me smothered grouper. And they smothered the grouper in a tomato mango stew. And they put thyme in it, right? And they served it over white rice. And I think we even had a cold slaw on the side with it. And I almost cried. And they look at me, right? And you know, in my Bahamian way, they ask me, I tell them, no, this is a happy moment. I say, because this is home. This don't just taste like home. This is home, right? And I realized this is why we brought thyme over with us from West Africa.
Absolutely.
They were from Gambia
Right.
in West Africa. And so I realized it wasn't that they were cooking a dish special to me, like they did the research, you know. This is them.
Right,
And them is we.
right.
Right? And so when the caller called in earlier about coconut milk and the introduction of coconut milk, I thought he really was going to question whether this is a Jamaican adjunct, right? Like this is something we borrowed from Jamaicans, but it turns out that coconut milk is us.
It's us.
Right.
As
what
well.
We've been using that.
We've been when I was in college, we was doing some kind of food history, and it was like in New England parts of it, and they told me cook this dish. So I looking at the dish, but I said that's curry chicken, boy. So I say I just throw down what I normally use, what I do, and then I really started to study that coast. When you look at the coast from the Bahamas and going straight up to New England, we cooking our food, but all of it is different variations of our food because of the African trade, the slave trade.
And the gullah.
So, the gully people and all of that. So somebody asked me the other day, but to work, say why we ain't cooking more Southern food? I say, all right, let's talk about Southern food. What's two fishes?
Southern food?
And yellow grits.
Yellow grits. I said that's Southern food.
Yeah.
I say, what's the fishes?
Southern food.
I say, what we do, we just take a different turn because of different Africans or different people or who they met here. They change the culture of African food, and that's it.
All right. So that leads me to think, what are the most exciting things happening on the foodie scene, right? And so for people who don't know, foodies are people who enjoy food. Like some people enjoy going to the club and listening to their style of music. Some people enjoy going to watch the sports games. There are some of us that enjoy not just eating food, but exploring and discovering new types of food, right? What's happening on the foodie scene, and what do chefs need to grow and enhance the foodie scene? because Bahamians into food. If we could do a rating, if we could do the ratings on cable, we could see how many people watch Chopped, right? And how many people watch Food Network. We into food.
Right. I think during this pandemic, we had a big evolution of home chefs, home cooks, who have done tremendously. I never seen this since I born in the history of the Bahamas. I don't think this ever happened like this. It's so many persons doing food now. Persons doing sushi at home. You have this lady called Mega Sushi. All these different items. So it's a big evolution. I think the government, however, needs to coordinate it better with the assistance of professional chefs and create something similar to a Wynwood in Miami. It's like an art district. And now they have just a plethora of restaurants, and everybody who is somebody wants to be to the Wynwood. We could do a Bahamian Wynwood.
Okay, so two things.
Yes.
How do we do that and make those products accessible, right, to the average Bahamian, right? So you do a Wynwood. I'm a student. Maybe I have an after-school program, and the bus passes through there, right? And I got to get something to eat. I want to know that I see when I pass through here as a young person, I could afford to be a part of this culture.
Yes, definitely. You're talking about casual food, not the fine dining kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very casual affair. I mean,
We could have both, right? We could have a balance of fine and high-end dining.
Absolutely, as well as the food trucks. I mean, I think in terms of the foodie scene locally, I still think we have a way to go in terms of doing things properly. In the States, when you have a food truck scene, you have a commissary, a production area that does all the production for all the food trucks so that we can control any kind of contaminants or any kind of bacteria that may happen by you preparing it. So we have a commissary. You say, okay, I need some diced onions. I'm gonna make some stew conch.
And I think
they'll give you all of the raw materials for the stew conch.
At one point in time, I was deep. When I say I was deep into the food truck culture, and I messaged somebody out of Orlando who had a couple of food trucks, and they also had a center, and they told me about their process and what they do, and food trucks could come park their trucks, get it washed, get it clean, get it gassed up, and all the stuff. The food truck scene in the States is phenomenal, and boy, it blew my mind just getting into that culture at one point in time. But yes, it's very controlled, and I think that if we do something like a food truck scene, it could be amazing.
Yeah.
It could be amazing.
And that model really would be a support for local vendors.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So look here. I got a text here. It says, "Good morning, Erin Rain. I am not Erin Rain. I'm Erin Greene." That's cool. No. She's a cool woman, right? But I just so you know, I'm not Erin Rain. And the texter wants to know, what's the best way to cook salmon? I want to try cooking salmon. Now, I will answer this before you all answer this. The best way to cook salmon is to go to Montague Dock and ask for a piece of lionfish fillet and give them the salmon to sell to somebody else. And you go home and cook the lionfish fillet. But I will let the chefs give you a recipe.
Well, it depends on, your taste, but I prefer, you season it. You have Cajun seasoning, you have the Old Bay seasoning, that along with some fresh herbs in terms of thyme, whatever you prefer, some lemon zest. And you would set that in the pan, add a little butter, add a little lemon juice, squeeze over that, and you're going to have a automatic sauce because from the au jus from the fish is going to come down. But I prefer my salmon medium rare, but normally Bahamians, they like it well done.
And so let me tell you all the most exquisite salmon dish I ever had. Ona Mitchell Bailey. Let me rephrase that. Ona Mitchell Powell Bailey makes salmon fingers, like grouper fingers. She seasons them in the traditional lime and pepper and salt and then batters them and fries them, pan fries them. And at first I was shocked, but I actually love it. Yeah, and I know the salmon people, the chef looking at me like that. I hear you, but that don't make sense, Mr.
Yeah,
Green.
salmon is a very funny fish.
Yeah.
It can be extremely dry, but if you do it properly, it can be a very nice, delicate, flaky fish.
Yeah, I was surprised at how, if you do it just right, it does flake. It was absolutely divine. I was shocked. I was shocked because I thought I would need a dipping sauce, to go with it because it don't have the au jus. But I didn't. So let me read some more of these texts. That texter would like your number. Also, somebody says, stew peas and dumpling, great show. Chefs, this is Chef Jeremiah. Guests want stuff like local fried fish,
Yes.
right? And they want stuff like stuff the local fried fish with local greens, right? Like and then wrap it and tie it and then batter it and then deep fry it, right? Like it's all kind of thing you could do with the fish.
I don't understand because in the fine dining restaurants you would have on your plate, you go to certain 5-star, Michelin star, 3 Michelin star restaurants, you're going to have the bird with the head and everything there.
Yeah.
That's part of the presentation.
Yep.
So I think we need to stop as Bahamian chefs and watering down our heritage.
But
If the fish eye is offensive, then you can't have that fish, but that's how we do it, yeah.
Right. Go on, Chef.
but Chef, we ain't saying that I went to a restaurant in Chicago, and they had the fish gills and not the fish gills, the fish belly, and the jaw with all the bone. They had that on a plate with lemons and stuff on it as a dish.
Yeah.
The part what we throw away or give to somebody else to boil or steam, or we wouldn't serve to a guest. They served that as a dish. That's one of their main courses.
Yeah. There's so much potential in our local food scene with the things we can produce ourselves, right? And I often say sovereignty is valuing the things that you can create and creating the things that you want to value. Right? And the local food scene, we are prime. Like we can live that right now and experience real sovereignty through our relationship with our food and the environment in which we produce it. Right? And so I don't want you all to think that chefs are just people that sit in kitchens and cut up food. Chefs are thinkers, they're intellectuals, they're creatives, and they are a driving force, not just in the development of our country, but in the sustaining of our culture and the growth of our culture.
And Punkanita spoke to that about the history and knowing the right way of doing it. I think I would advise the government, as a chef, to put this in the school curriculum, whereas you learn how to cook stew, fish, pea soup and dumpling, all that stuff in the school system. Everybody knows it, everybody loves it. It will evolve. You would have people infusing it with other cultures, which is fine. But once we know the original way, the Bahamian way, I think that's the way to go.
And in terms of ensuring that Bahamians can always participate equally and equitably in the tourism product, if every student has access to an opportunity to learn the most traditional Bahamian dishes and Bahamian food culture, then at any point in time, they can easily access the tourism space. Because what do tourists come here for? But to experience what Bahamians experience
Authenticity.
every day. Arlington, are ready to roll out? You could play that song for me? Boy, look here. As we close the show, I can play this song so we could remember some of the most favorite things about being a Bahamian, but also so maybe you could be inspired to add value to the things we already value. Not just to create new industry, but to create a new space in your heart for the place you are from. Arlington, you ready? You coming right now. Anyway, Chef Alpheus, you got the last word.
I just inspire everybody just to be, like I say, be a Bahamian. I told Eddie Ministers, he inspired me to be a chef through his music. And he was like, wow, we never saw that before. But his music is what inspired me to be a chef because it was Bahamian. So I wanted to do something that was Bahamian, that's cooked Bahamian food and give it to let everybody experience it.
Absolutely. Listen, Bahamas, have a wonderful weekend. Go find somebody who's selling something local and buy it from them, please. And eat it and share it with your family. Juju still on the tree. Ganep, mango, avocado blossoms on the tree. It's fruit time. Have a great day, Bahamas. Lee Van Miller and Unleashed is up next on 96.9 FM.
You jump on the bike, go to the landmark. Jump off the bike, pick out one lot. Save your money every weekend and put a little bit down on your lot. Boy, tell me, who do you love?